Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri, aka Russian Prototype, coming to you live from beautiful Florida, United States of America. Yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time debating, contemplating the interesting topic about casual sex. And tonight, we're going to continue. I mentioned to you that we were going to analyze a video tonight, and we're going to really engage with each other, but we're also going to see what a university professor thinks on that matter. Before we do it, I will end up with a special guest. At least that's the plan. She should be jumping on any moment. Um, she, she is a very active member of the community, and she had some thoughts to share on the topic. So, of course, I welcome that feedback and her thoughts. So we're going to wait for her. She's going to be joining us in just a little bit. She's going to be telling us about her take on the topic. In the meantime, let's see who we have here. The Blah 1990. Hello. Thank you for being here. Heather. Hello. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Becky. Thank you for being here. Good evening to you. Thank you for hanging out. Felicia, hello. How are you tonight? Kaya, hello. How are you doing? So happy to see everyone here. So, we covered a lot of ground yesterday. A lot of ground. We talked about many different aspects of casual dating. We've had a couple of live guests yesterday, and we had a good conversations. And we're going to continue this conversation tonight. Hello, Jamie. How are you doing? I'm happy to have you. Appreciate you joining. So let's welcome our very active member of the community, Heather. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Hi, everybody.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for contacting me and taking initiative to jump on as a live guest and share your thoughts. I know you have quite a few things to say on the topic. I appreciate you taking notes and being so attentive to this particular subject. I'm very curious to hear what are you going to say. So please,
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I wanted to find out if casual sex impacted the rates or percentages of couples entering into marriage, especially because I was under the impression that it had a negative impact. So I wanted to see if there was data to back that up.
Okay, I'm
hmm
excited. Let's get it.
Okay, so uh, apparently there is no data. Across some information to spark some talking points.
Okay.
Okay, so one data study of a mixed gender cohort conducted between 1997 to 2015 revealed that more non marital sex partners have a temporary effect on marriage rates. So, recent sex partners reduce the odds of marriage, but the lifetime number of non marital sex partners does not. So, in other words, I take it to mean that if someone has been recently promiscuous, like within the last year or two, they are less likely to have an incentive for marriage. And that can be for a number of reasons. So, what are your thoughts on that so far?
So just to make sure I understand it correctly, couples that have been recently in the last few years been promiscuous, meaning not married, right?
Mm-hmm.
That have been having casual sex, they have a less of a chance uh, for successful relationship or for marriage.
They're less likely to get married,
Okay.
according to this one particular study. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. That is very interesting. And food for thought, food for thought, because if I had to make a guess, I think that the stigma still exists. I mean, this is a relatively new thing, right? I
Mhm.
mean, like 20, 15, even 15 years ago. I mean, when did the term Netflix and chill, or what Fred with benefits probably existed, but people framed it differently. But Netflix and chill, like, I mean, it became casual. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
became casual and open in the last, I feel like, decade. I don't recall hearing Netflix and chill before, like, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe something like that. So I just think that that's a relatively recent phenomenon, and I think the stigma is still very much exists, and I think a lot of people have negative connotations with it, and a lot of people will associate casual sex with hookup, and
Mhm.
not a good indicator of, secure relationship, perhaps. That's what I
Right.
would, that's what I would think, in one thing that I would connect it with. But interesting stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, I know in the case of men, they probably prefer to sow their wild oats a little bit longer. So if they're out there like that, then they're not marriage minded at all. And I guess for women, considering that men are the gatekeepers of marriage, uh, maybe she feels she has to do what she has to do while out here dating. Like if she doesn't see any prospects, maybe she feels like she just has to maybe casually date someone in hopes that it'll turn serious, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, I think that it is logical. I believe that women probably feel pressure. I would imagine that people feel pressure because, man, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, man, I heard, I think, somebody's podcast yesterday that they, not my words, they somebody else's words, and not a creator's words, but they basically were saying, like, a lot of men, really, that's what they after, that's what they chasing for the most
mhm.
part. Like, everything else is secondary for a lot of men. So if you even if you don't believe that entirely, if you just if you will allow that to be a possibility, or if there is like a 40 or 50% possibility of that being true, then you end up in a situation where a lot of women will be pressured, and a lot of women will feel that, in those instances, that that's what men really want, and they have
Mhm.
to adjust. I think that they will have to adjust, and as a result, this overarching point is that they do adjust, maybe by potentially jumping in those casual relationships, and, hoping that they can grow into something bigger down the road.
Okay, so would you say that men are getting married later in life based on what you've observed or heard from your friends?
Yes, generally
Okay,
speaking.
generally speaking.
Generally speaking, it's also going to be cultural. I know that, like,
Yes.
in the 90s, in Russia, a lot of men married when they were younger, in their 20s, but
Okay.
now you look in United States, and I have friends who are in their 30s, and a lot of them are not married, you know
Did they say why? Like, why are they waiting now?
well, I think there are a couple of reasons. I think that what dating become now is that, for one thing, they don't they probably not where they want to be, financially speaking, in
Okay.
in order to be able to support a family and children. And that's very important, because man has to be a provider. And whether you believe in gender roles or not, it's irrelevant. What I'm talking
Mhm.
about, man, in my opinion, must be able to provide, you know?
Okay.
It's my take on it. Like, and I think a lot of men will feel proud,
Uh-huh.
um it's a lot of sense of proud, um because it really, I think, for a man who really envisioned their future a certain way with their family, they
Uh-huh.
want to be able to feel that role, as a provider. And then secondly, another reason that I would attribute it to the fact that, y- partially to casual dating, and to the number of options and the way that relationships work nowadays. Like, I mean, if I'll give you an example. South Florida, where a couple of my friends are, has abundance of all kinds of women, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and they from all over the place. They from South America, they from Europe, they from United States. So men have their um, choices. They have tons of different choices, and so I think in a lot of men's eyes, they may be thinking, well, I have all these choices. I can fulfill my needs, at least sexual needs, that is, without being committed or without being married. So, what is the point for me to get married? And of course, we can have a conversation about all the benefits of marriage and companionship. But a lot of men, they probably haven't even necessarily experienced that part of it, you know? They've experienced passion and perhaps lust and something else, but maybe they haven't even experienced companionship, so maybe they don't even know what that feels like. um, so I mean, there's just a couple of thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I was kind of getting the impression that men have too many options these days. So it's like the old saying, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? So, but you know what? People fall in love and marriage is still a thing. And there have been plenty of times throughout our American history in particular where people experienced a sexual revolution, but yet marriage still endured. So ultimately, it's just up to the individual and what they're looking for and when they're ready. So.
It is absolutely correct. It's actually interesting that you said that, because I don't know if I was talking about that on my Instagram live today, or if I was just thinking it in my head. But I think it comes down to finding one person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one person that you can connect with, because ultimately there's always going to be things that society goes through, ebbs and flows. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be some trends, tendencies that, you know, a lot of people not going to connect with,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. I think you still see a lot of happy people. You still see couples who not just make it work, but couples who thrive. And when you see couples who thrive, they have a different type of relationship. It's not it seems to me, it's not based on, you know, just sex. It's not
Mm-hmm.
based just on finances. There's some sort of connection, there's some sort of bond that exists. So I very much a believer in that. I think that if we lost that completely as a society, as a world, I think you know, we would not have the same feel, you know. We would probably know it, but we still have that hope. We still have those people who find it. And I think ultimately it comes down to, like, can you find that person and not let world, no matter how crazy it gets, bring you down.
Okay. Well, before I go, I saw a question in the comments. Kai wants to know, is casual sex prominent in Russia?
Yes, the short answer is yes. There's actually hello.
Hi.
uh, there's actually another YouTuber, Russian YouTuber. He's probably the most famous YouTuber in Russia. Um, and he made a video. It's a long video where he talks about this topic. He actually specifically talks about the number of HIV and AIDS cases
Mm-hmm.
going up in Russia, and that's just, obviously it's not a happy thing to talk about, but apparently those statistics are getting worse. So there's a lot of people that get infected, and you would think that in 21st century it wouldn't happen, but it does. So he kind of shed light on that. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's been on the rise. So yeah,
Yeah, and
if
I
you
hear it's taboo to talk about sex in Russia. Like parents don't discuss it with their kids. There's no sex education, things like that.
yeah, normally it is. Normally people don't talk about that. You know, it's in the sex education is quite different in Russia. it's, I think you're talking about a country who's been closed for so long, and a lot of these things just felt forbidden or were forbidden for years and years and years, you know.
All right. I think I'm gonna take off now. I wanted to show off my shirt. That's
Oh, very cool.
my iPad.
That's your creation, right?
Yeah, I drew this. It's on my
So,
Instagram.
so you wearing a t-shirt with a picture of yourself?
It's supposed to be me. I think it looks prettier, but yes.
Okay. That's how you know that you reaching the new level, you know.
Yeah. And I'll be dropping a new picture tomorrow. A
And that's
new
awesome.
artist.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing. I love this information. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you in the chat.
I see you. Have a great evening. It's so great to connect. Always, always, always so great to connect. Oh, cool. Jamie, thank you so much for that. Look, I was pretty close. I was saying about 5 to 6 years. Wow. I'm so proud of myself. That's incredible. Netflix and chill started in 2014. I mean, like, think about this for a second. This thing, um, this thing, this concept caught on, right? It's not just one person said that. This is expression that's been adopted at large by the society, right? Which means, like, so many people resonated with that. So many people did that. And so many people continue to do it, to where, like, let's just call it that. Let's just call it that. We already know what's going to happen. We, human beings, we use Netflix as a shield. I mean, like, if you think about it, if you look the psychology of it, I think it's very fascinating, right? Somebody is really coming to your house with the purpose of watching Netflix. You come in to watch Netflix. I mean, this is what the text conversation is like, right? Hey, Sally, this is John. I'm coming to watch Netflix. Is that cool? Okay, John, go ahead. Bring a bottle of wine. And then, you know, you probably get through a quarter of the movie, at best, quarter of the movie. And then, as Felicia say, Mario Smash Brothers video game. And look, this is no longer, I'm telling you, this is no longer just a fad. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And the fact that people know what that means, the fact that people use that as their captions on their photos in their dating profiles, I mean, it's part of a culture. It's part of the culture, whether you like it or not. And we as people created that culture. And anyway, I think that's enough on that point. Some men are mentally mature to be married. Yeah, I agree. Do you think the rising numbers will contribute to change in attitude in return to monogamous relationships? Oh, that's a good question. Well, remember that this is also Heather. I believe Heather said she found just this one study that talks about that. So I would imagine that a sample, I'm not trying to discredit it. I think there's validity. If there's a study's been done, there is some sort of validity. There is some sort of pattern, right? But it's also, what was the sample size of that, right? And how much do you want to use that as your point of reference, right? So will it contribute to a change in attitude in return to monogamous relationships? I still think that a lot of people are not about casual relationships. I don't think that we've been consumed by it, by society. Personally, I don't. I think there are plenty of people who still going to be in favor of and practice only monogamous relationships. I just think that that's becoming a little bit harder to do than in the past because you see a cultural shift nowadays. Netflix was just added to chilling. We've been chilling forever for real. Self-depreciating humor. Nice. I will link drawing channel in the comments. Please do check out Heather's art. It's pretty remarkable, and she does it by hand. It's so great. Can't chat tonight, too much homework. Hope everyone is good night. Thank you for being here, even though you're doing homework. That's amazing. All right, my friends, with that, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. Jokes on me. Okay, we're gonna watch a video. All right, we're gonna watch a video. It's called "Is Casual Sex Bad for You?" And we're going to stop occasionally to have a conversation. As we're watching the video, please comment, please share your thoughts. Please let me know what you think. If you have not smashed the like button, I mean, that's the least thing you can do. Just smash the like button. I'm here on Friday night with you, you know, could be cleaning my house, could be on a date, but I'm here with you. Wouldn't miss it for a world. Smash the like button, will you? Please. Please. Pretty please. With that, let's go ahead and get to the video. And let me know if you can hear it okay. If for some reason sound is not good, please let me know in the comments, okay? So pay attention, because there's going to be a lot of interesting information in this video. Here we go. Let me make sure sound is good. Here we go.
Hi. So our world today is a far more sexually permissive place than it used to be 50 years ago. These days, for most people, premarital sex is okay.
Fair use.
Sex is okay. In this post 50 Shades of Grey era, even kinky sex is okay. But we're still very conflicted as a society and as individuals over whether it's acceptable and healthy to have casual sex, sex outside the confines of long-term romantic relationships. We're constantly surrounded by it, yet we're often told it's bad for us, we shouldn't be doing it. By the time we're 25, 70% of us will have hooked up at least once. And yet most of us will worry we shouldn't really be doing it.
So I want to stop it right here real quick. She said, by the time we 25, statistically speaking, and by the way, this is a Dr. Jana Vrangalova. It sounds like she's Eastern European. That's not the reason I'm playing this video. This was one, like the most relevant, legitimate TED talk on the subject that I found. So, and when I listened to it, I liked it a lot, because she's throwing some numbers around, right? So this is a person who, a professor, I believe, in William and Mary, University of William and Mary. And so, interesting stat. By the time people reach age 25, a lot, like so many people. What's the actual percentage she said? Did I miss this? Hold on.
Most of us will worry we shouldn't really be.
What is the actual percentage?
Doing it. By the time we're 25, 70% of us.
70%. 70% of people by the time they're 25, she said, hooked up at least one time. Now we'll see if she will say where she got the data from. But if that is true, that is ridiculous number, right? That is a ridiculous number. So it begs a question, do people, let's just keep watching. I'm going to keep my questions for later. 70% of people
have hooked up at least once. And yet most of us will worry we shouldn't really be doing it. But there's something that doesn't make sense here to me about this love-hate relationship we have with casual sex. We all seem to agree that sex with a romantic partner has all these amazing benefits, from longer and healthier lives to better relationships and greater happiness. So How come that same sexual activity has the exact opposite effect if our partner is a stranger or a friend? Is sex somehow good for us only because of the love and commitment we feel for our partners? And without that love and commitment, it automatically turns into a destructive force? Isn't there something good in just, sex?
Fair use, fair use.
When I started my PhD in developmental psychology, I decided to get to the bottom of this. Is casual sex objectively bad for us? Or is this just another grossly over-exaggerated moral sex panic that the US has had no shortage of? In the 10 years since, we've learned a great deal about casual sex from social science research, my own and that of other scholars. But virtually 90% of that knowledge is based on US undergrads. And trust me, you are not the only people hooking up. So, to supplement our knowledge and understanding of this phenomenon, I started this website called the Casual Sex Project. It's an online space for people of all demographic backgrounds to share their true stories of hookups. My hope was to give people a chance to tell their stories, make sense of their experiences through this process of storytelling, but also to paint a more diverse, richer picture of what casual sex really looks like, what it means to people, what it feels like, what its aftermath may be. In the 10 months since the website's been up, it's been viewed over 6 million times. Over 1,200 stories have been shared by people from all over the world, and it's been written about on 6 continents. So, what have all these stories and studies taught us about casual sex and well-being?
Fair use.
Well, here are a few things that you may not have been aware of. First of all, casual sex has many potential benefits. Perhaps the most obvious one is sexual pleasure, orgasms, hedonic ecstasy, if you will. Then there are things like learning new sexual skills, making new friends. It's a good one. An increased sense of self-confidence, accomplishment, desirability, empowerment, freedom. Then there are collecting fun stories and memories to tell your friends at the senior citizens home many years later, or share in the Casual Sex Project.
So I want to stop it for a moment, and I wanted to get your take on what she just said, because she just described benefits of casual sex, and she talked about purely sexual pleasure. She talked about new skills. She talked about making new friends. She was kind of joking about it, but maybe developing rapport with someone, or developing still some sort of a relationship, not in the standard sense, but nonetheless, you develop in some sort of relationship, self-confidence, and she talked about freedom. So based on that, those are interesting thoughts, because apparently, it does make sense. It does make sense. Good day. Yes, almost same percentage, even in the Christian community, where the conviction and or law is to save sex for marriage. I blame and avert sexualized world we live in. They use sex to sell soda. To sell cells. Oh, so maybe it's just one of those things to where people just have a hard time resisting. Truly, because obviously both genders are doing that. So there's some sort of natural inclination to have sex, for lack of a better word. But let's continue to watch. Continue to comment your thoughts, please. Let me know, what are you thinking?
There's even experiencing that deep emotional, spiritual, intellectual connection with another human being
Fair
that
use.
sometimes happens even though no romantic feelings are involved. But casual sex has yet another powerful pull on us. As Esther Perel so eloquently puts it, humans have this fundamental need for adventure, novelty, mystery, risk, danger, the unknown, the unexpected. Some more than others, but it's there in our DNA. And that is a need that casual sex satisfies effortlessly by its very nature. And it's a need that's much more difficult, if not impossible, to meet in the long term part of long term relationships. Now, there are, of course, risks: unsatisfying sex, broken hearts, ruined friendships, regret, coercion, confusion, awkwardness, STIs and unwanted pregnancies, social stigma, disrespectful partners. Now, people fear that most of the time these cons outweigh the pros. But that is simply not true.
Ooh.
Study after study finds
Uh-oh.
this pattern for how people feel following their hookups. For both men and women alike, positive post-hookup reactions, happy, pleased, excited, are much stronger than negative hookup reactions, used, empty, disappointed. Other studies show that casual sex has little to no impact on longer-term psychological well-being. Things like self-esteem, life satisfaction, depression, anxiety. Now, of course,
Fair
this
use.
doesn't mean that all hookups follow this pattern, or that this pattern is typical of everybody who hooks up, and that no one's well-being is ever affected. No, these are just averages, right? When you look more closely at the people and the experiences making up these averages, you find that some hookups do indeed have the potential to harm or benefit well-being. And some people are more susceptible to that potential. So whether casual sex is good for you or not depends.
So I want to stop it for a second. I would never imagine. So what she was talking about and showing the stats that people have all these positive emotions after they had casual sex, um, and hormonal reaction really that makes people feel good. I would never imagine that that would be the case. You know, I would. I also um, would think that there'd be maybe more shame and regret and confusion and things of that nature. But according to what she's saying, that's not the case. So this is where it really gets interesting. Let's see some comments. Let's see some comments. Do we have any? Felicia said making new friends. Yeah, that was funny comment for sure. D. Oh, by the way, what's up, D? Didn't greet you properly. Thanks for being here. Too much of a good thing messes up the nervous system and neurology in a human, just like drugs, right? Um, not if you're eating cake. Cake does not mess anything up. No, I think it probably will mess up your digestive system eventually, but it might be worth it. I thought the negative would be higher too. Yes, I'm very surprised by that. Extremely surprised that people feel better compared to positive emotions compared to negative emotions after they hook up with someone or had casual sex with someone. Um, Perhaps there is validity in positive things that she described, and that the positive things really in people's mind outweigh the negative. And that seemed to be the majority. Kai said, I think the benefits or negatives depend on your mindset when you go into it. I think that's huge. I think mindset is actually huge for so many different reasons. I think if you give yourself permission to do things, if you in peace with yourself, if you believe that this is okay, then who's going to stop you, right? But it's not even about the simple fact that nobody's going to stop you and you have freedom to do that. It's the aftermath. It's how you're going to feel emotionally about that, right? If you have this engraved feeling in you that hooking up is bad, and you've been taught that all your life, and you believe that with all your heart, then I think you're going to feel very, very bad after hooking up with someone. But if you don't believe that, if you open to that idea, and if you're going to love yourself no matter what, whether you hook up with someone or not, it's truly a matter of mindset. I think that's correct. Too much cake messes up your things and gut, thighs and gut. Yes, it does. Felicia said, I thought the negative would be higher as well. Internal peace is everything. Oh my God, I've been talking about internal peace forever. There's nothing without internal peace. And imagine this. I mean, like, I'm not proposed of cheating. I'm not proponent of cheating. But this kind of bleeds into a whole different conversation. But if your significant other does not give you peace, and then you know, let's just pretend that it's been going on for a couple of years and you cannot get peace at home, and then you meeting someone and you have that connection, you know that you married, you're not supposed to do anything with another person, you married, committed person. But I think if you're missing peace and you feel connection with another person that you don't have at home, I think this is where people end up sleeping. People end up sleeping. Not sleeping as taking a nap, like sleep, sleep on the ground and fall. And they end up doing something that they regret. But maybe, perhaps one of the things that they seek for is peace and connection. Oh my God, these comments are great. Jamie said, I think it also depends on the person and their expectations. If you are expecting a one-time thing, then it's fine. But I talk to a lot of young women who are secretly hoping for more. You know, this is tough. This is tough because you really never know how this thing is going to work. You may have this casual relationship or hook up with someone, and then they never talk to you again. I mean, that's a real possibility, But you never know, though. You might end up in a casual predicament or one night stand with someone who's gonna want to talk to you because they genuinely like you. Is there a way to know? Cake sells, Felicia. Oh yes. But that begs the question, why are the same people who indulge treating sex like it's taboo when it comes to sex ed for their children teens? If I'm conveying this well enough. I think you are conveying it well enough, because I think it's a great question, Heather. I think that parents always expecting more out of their children. They're always trying to impose the ideals on their children that they didn't necessarily follow themselves. I find it to be true. You probably don't know all the dirt your parents did. Our parents did, not your, Heather. Our parents did, right? We don't know the dirt. We only see this angelic image of our parents because they always appear as protectors, as educators, as supporters, as doctors, as providers, all of those things. So we never see them in a different light. And they want us to be the best that we possibly can be, or even better than we can be. They dream about their children. And I think we would do the same for our children. But I think one thing that parents kind of failing at times is being very raw and honest with their children. They're always trying to shield children from the real world. And rightfully so. I think it needs to be done. But I think at some point, when the child becomes an adult, this is an important part of education, because this can save, like if you're going to have these conversations, if you're going to give example to your children about these real issues, and not in a nasty way, in an educational way, think how many, years of agony or self-defeating mistakes that you could potentially avoid. I think it's protective mechanism that parents utilize that at times you end up backfiring. And I'm not suggesting that they do it on a purpose. I think that part of it too is that we're very young society, and things change all the time in the society. This is a relatively, like, Jamie posted a comment, that thing happened, that the Netflix and chill started in 2014. I mean, it hasn't even been a decade yet. So I don't even think it was enough time for people to truly adjust to this shift in culture, right? So that, coupled with the fact that parents naturally trying to protect their offspring, to me, that's part of it. That's what it seems. I like it. Hold on. I think I lost my comments. Oh my gosh. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Oh, here we go. Becky said, I found casual sex to be empowering and help me find out what I like. I always use protection and don't engage in it if I am in a relationship / commitment. Different people will think about it differently, like I think that a lot of people will not bake in credit to you for coming out and saying it like that openly, because I think a lot of people, even people who doing it, they would not feel comfortable talking about it, because like we're all afraid of judgment, we all dislike judgment, and it's still, this is not something that being embraced by the society necessarily, right? So it's like at the very least there's like real caution involved when people carry these conversations. People don't really want to know that, people don't want other people to know that they could be engaging in those things. But I mean, people who are open about it and free about it, it is what it is. It actually kind of releases pressure and the need to think about it, But if casual sex is okay, why do the kids have to do better? I think parents need to let their kids decide how they want to live their life. I believe, and I'm not suggesting that means that we should teach them how to do that and push them towards that. Not at all. I'm saying that after 18 years of life, 16 or 18, depending on the society that you're part of, you've done everything you can for that child. You're not going to ground a child after he or she is 16. Definitely not when he or she is 18. I think that some of you who have teenagers probably will tell me I can't even deal with her when she's 11, 12, or 13, or he 11, 12, and 13. I try to remember myself when I was 14, 15, I already was a devil. 14, 15. I didn't want to be controlled. I want to be an adult, you know? So I think the premise that parents have these ideals about their children and that children must do better, it's all well and good. But I think it sort of, in a way, backfires when kids get out in the real world. Because think about it, they stay in a nest with their parent or parents for 16 or 18 years. And they've been told all these beautiful things, right? All the right things. They've been told not to have quick sex. They've been told to be kind. They've been told to treat other people well. All these great things, assuming we're talking about a functional household, not dysfunctional one. But then, they get out in the real world when they're 18, and what happens? They deal with a bunch of BS, with a bunch of people who don't care about them. Because nobody's going to care about your children the way that you do. There's nobody in the world going to care about your kid like you do, and maybe your parents do, and maybe some family members, right? The world isn't going to care. So my point is that even though parents want kids do better, as opposed to making them do better and grounding them, education seems to be more empowering tool. You educate them the best that you can. You give them all the knowledge. You give them all the nurture. You give them, you equip them with the ability to make an intelligent choice. And then you let them be in, because at the end of the day, they're going to make that choice anywhere, whether you like it or not. Maybe you meant if a casual sex, in a casual sex, who wins and what is gained? If the woman wants to win the love of the man, I don't think it is the best way. Yeah, I mean, that's part of a debate. That's what we're trying to figure out. That's what we've been talking about last night and continue to talk about today. Because that's what men want. Estrella, that's what men want. So if you want something in a man, you desire something in a man very, very deeply, and then you don't have that, what happens next? Are you going to stick around? Are you going to look for those qualities in another man? And this is the dilemma. This is the dilemma because we talked about the conflict of interest yesterday. This is a real deal. I really think that's part of the problem. Part of a problem is there's a conflict of interest. Majority of men, again, it's anecdotal, but majority of men would have sex with a female that they're attracted to on the first date. I feel that majority of females are attractive females. I could be wrong, but I feel like that majority of them are not open to have sex with the man on the first date. This is the disconnect. The man, after a while, will look for another girl. I think that the man has to see that the woman respects herself. Yeah, I think this is the question. This is the ultimate question, right? How both people can meet in the middle. Because I understand how important self-respect for many, many people. Like it should be. Like as people, we should respect ourselves and we should be happy with our actions, right? So this is important. But also, at what point, if we're really talking about a cultural shift where man collectively is going to look elsewhere, they're going to look towards other women who can provide that for them, then are you going to continue looking for a man who can give you what you're looking for, meaning the ability to wait, or are you going to adjust your way of thinking? Because at the end of the day, we still don't know the alternative. We don't know what that means. If you are going to be intimate with the man rather quickly, does that guarantee that that man is not going to respect you? That's the question. Heather said, Kai, the statistics said more people feel good about it after than not. Yes, surprisingly. Oh, I need to charge my laptop. Sorry. Let me hold on one moment because I don't want to lose you. I forgot to connect my battery. Oh, goodness gracious. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Come on, here we go. That would have been bad if this live stream just stopped suddenly because my battery was not charging. I think here we go. Now we're good. We're charging. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's look a couple other comments. There's so many great comments. We're going to come back to the video in a second. So many great comments. Don't let public schools teach your kids about sexuality. The drugs have taken over that, well, at least in liberal California. Public schools, yeah, I think there needs to be home education. As I'm talking about, I'm thinking in my head how I would educate my own children. How would I even would bring up the conversation? Maybe I would show them these videos. Hey, that's the cool thing about content, right? I can just show it my kids later on and they can just hear my thoughts and then decide what they want to do, right? I'm being honest. I'm sharing how I feel with you right now, right? So I think part of it is, D, to your point, I think big part of it is coming up with the home education, or even, like media education, watching YouTube and pulling up studies and making sense of it and just looking at patterns. I think those type of things going to be, I would say, far more important than just your public school education. It's a school of life. Heather said, why default to sex is bad if most people are having casual sex and not regretting it? Good question. I don't know why. Maybe it's not bad. That's the point of this whole debate, of this whole live show. Maybe it isn't bad. In other words, society gives the impression sex is great and natural, but not for my kid. Look, I think people just trying to protect. I think people are afraid for their children. They want better. Because the other side of it, look, she was talking about this. Dr. Jana was talking about the fact that there are some negative things, right? So broken hearts, she was talking about, ruined friendships, unwanted pregnancies. There's a lot of drawbacks that could happen because of that, right? So we have to look at both sides. So even if you take unwanted pregnancy and STDs, two outcomes that could resolve from casual sex. Those are scary alternatives, or possibilities rather. They're very scary, especially for a woman to get pregnant. That's another big reason I think women are way less open to it, is because mistake for a woman is way more costly than mistake for a man. Men don't get pregnant. Yes, sure, men can still end up with the sexually transmitted disease, but carrying a child and then potentially being liable for the child for 18 years of your life, that is, if you're not planning to do that, that could be devastating life change, right, for a woman. Sex is incredible and a significant part of the human experience. Casual sex is great if you are doing it for the right reasons. Personally, At my age, I want more. Here we go. I mean, and nobody, nobody will like hold you back. If that's what you're after, get it. I honestly think it's how it's conducted. It's how it's conducted, what your beliefs are, and who you're doing it with. I mean, you have to consider all those things. Because if you as a person not comfortable with it, then don't do it. Let's see. Kids are bombarded by porn when online. Forget about the real world. The internet is their world now. It's different generation. It is. And it's only going to get more technologically we as a society going to get more technologically advanced. So I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. In fact, like, you and I might have this conversation in 10 or 15 years, and we're going to be talking about things that we can't even imagine right now at all. I think the biggest reason people are afraid to admit they would have casual sex is because people will assume they sleep around, which isn't true. I'm very selective. So then, the thing is, this comment made me think that there's probably some people out there who trying to hide, behind the veil of a relationship just so others can think that they are in a relationship, where in fact, they might not even be in the they might create that story in their mind. They might not even have consent to be in a relationship from their partner. They just say to other people that they are, and they still do essentially the same thing. They're sleeping with that person. I can see those situations being not prevalent, but they existing in the world today. People are afraid of judgment. I had the sex talk with my kid. She understands it. She knows about it. I broke it down. She wasn't too creeped out. Here we go. I mean, this is a great example. The fact that you were brave enough to do that and tell her about it, this is the most powerful form of education, in my opinion, because you are her mom. If you're going to be comfortable talking about that with her, she's not going to need to hide and learn it somewhere else. She will know that she can go to questions to you. She will know that you understand that she wants that kind of information in order for her to evolve as a human being. So I'm very much in support of that. I'm very much in support to treat your children as your students, not just your children, your flesh and blood. You can take on different roles, and in the role of educator, role of a teacher, I think is one of the most important ones. The problem is society's demonizing of women who have casual sex, the judgment that women have to deal with, and the stigma, which is very real thing and very harsh on women in particular. Jamie, 100%. This is 100% the case. And this is kind of, I think I maybe alluded to it yesterday. This is like unfortunate because I can see how it's kind of could be, catch 22 for many women, because men want it. Men desire that. Men want that as soon as they can get it. But some men, when they get it, and when they get it quickly, let's say some men get it on the first date, they become judgmental. And they say, well, I got what I wanted. I don't want her because she's not a good quality woman. So it's kind of like doesn't make sense in a way, right? If you a man, if you are pushing for sex on the first date and then you get it, then at least don't be disrespectful. But I think the stigma, the stigma and the opinion in men's head, like, oh, okay, so she did it with me on the first date, she must be doing it with everybody on the first date. But that's not necessarily true. I don't believe that just because you have to vet your woman out, right? This is the time when you're going to sit down, you have a conversation, so you get to interact with her, right? So I'm not an expert in body language or whatever, but I can usually tell, reasonably tell, when a woman is very promiscuous, um, versus a woman who is a decent woman. Now, it's not a bulletproof recipe. It doesn't always work. Some women masquerade and cover up very, very well. But you collect all the information that you can and then make the best intelligent decision. So for instance, if I'm going on a date on the first date with a woman who educated, she got her degree, who is have goals in life, who has a good family, who communicates very, very well, who's respectful. So now you're doing the math. It's like, okay, I see a pattern here. She's a good woman, you know? Versus if you go on a date with someone who does not speak well, right? Comes from a broken family, being disrespectful on a date, inconsiderate, right? Someone who does not take care of her appearance, right? Bad hygiene, right? Somebody who's maybe being mean to other people. So you see a completely different person. It's like, okay, something is off here. Not just one thing, many things I just don't add up. As a man, I should be smart enough to say like, no, I'm not interested in that kind of woman, you know? So I can see how if a man goes for a woman that is less what he really wants, he goes for that woman simply for a physical part, that's kind of that's a downfall. That's a downfall. It could be, you know? I know this is complex. But I think that if you go for a woman, if you decide as a man to go for a woman and pursue her and you end up have casual sex with her, I mean, be glad about it. Be grateful for it. Be happy about it. I don't understand the disrespect. I don't understand shaming. I don't understand like talking bad behind her. You had some sort of connection in that moment of time. You had some sort of connection that both of you wanted to be a part of. So why are you talking afterwards? Like if you weren't happy with something, right? Just say like, hey, I can't go through with that. I don't think it's good because of A, B, and C. I mean, like, I've been on a date where I knew after the first date, I did not want to do anything with the person. Nothing. I had no desire to see them again. And there was no phone calls or texts or anything. And when that is done that way, people usually don't have a problem because you don't lead them on, right? Then when I was younger, I've had dates when I would try to force things and I was trying to like, go to the next level and go to the next date, or sometimes even like, trying to get intimate too quickly. And that's like, that doesn't work, that doesn't work either. So you have to read the situation. I think that children will not do what their parents tell them. Rather, they will imitate what their parents do. That's a good point. I think they definitely will imitate. So leadership is super important, but it is not just about telling them. It's about educating them. I'm not talking about don't do this or don't do that. I'm talking about sex education. You can be more objective about sex education. You can tell your children, okay, here's what sex is. Here's how it works. Here are the trends. Pull up few videos, pull up few articles on internet. Use the knowledge, free knowledge that we have right now. And it's not about don't do this, don't do that. My point is give them the information. tell him what's going to be the alternative if you do A. Tell him the alternative if you're going to do B. If there's C and D alternatives, tell him all of them, right? And then tell him, so this is the tell him part. This is the only tell him part. You're going to have to make an intelligent decision. How and what kind of choices you're going to make based on this. This is going to be your decision. Now imagine how empowering that could be for a kid. Imagine how empowering that could be, as opposed to saying, don't do that, don't do this. No, here are the choices. These are the choices. Choose wisely. Let's see. A few more comments. Man, this is awesome. I can't stop talking. We still have a lot of video to watch. This is a big break. If you want me to shut up, just do the hashtag shut up in the comments. D, personally, all my life, I've been pressured to be sexually active and was shamed if I didn't. Sorry to hear that. I often pretend and lied that I did have sex so I wouldn't be sex shamed. And this is the unfortunate part about this whole deal. Like, I mean, shaming and disrespecting. I mean, like, the way I think about this now is like, what other people do is none of my business. It becomes my business if we are in a committed relationship. And of course, if we're in a marriage, if we have a family, it changes things. But if we are just dating, if we're just getting to know each other, I just don't see a benefit of being on someone's case. I don't see that. If you see it, please let me know in the comment what would be benefit of being on someone's case. Is it because some people, maybe some women perhaps, really like dominant men who will lead them, who will, for lack of the better word, boss them around, who will really be, this guiding force perhaps? I don't know. You tell me. What are you thinking? There's polar opposite extremes. I've noticed a healthy shame-free medium point is best. And girls nowadays are developing more rapidly than I did when I was 18. Mothers most of the time have no choice but to explain because their daughters have a mature body, but it's still a young child. Yeah, girls develop faster. Plus, consider the fact that they have access to information. So would you want your kid to find out some of that stuff from some weird kid in school? Or would you want your kid to find out some of this sex education from you? Up to you to decide. It's the hormones in the food that's sexually maturing those hormones. And that's a whole different conversation. We have a lot of hormones and all kinds of things in our food over here. Religion and societal mores. It's like some men test a woman to see if she is promiscuous or not like you, or not like you set a double standard. So what do women do? You're kind of screwed either way. There is double standard. Yes, there is. But I remember a few moments ago, I was talking about how you vet a woman. You vet a man. You vet a man. What does that man say? Is that man ambitious? Is that man smart? Is that man confident? Does this man, is he clingy? Is he, what is your list? What is your list of um, how you evaluate a good man, or not even a good man? How do you evaluate a potential mate, good quality mate for you? What would it look like, right? This sounds a little weird. Good mate. What would be a, an ideal man that you would be willing to get intimate with? Do you have that image in your head? If you don't, maybe jot down a few things, because then you can see. We keep talking about these lists, and I'm telling you that's not a joke. You might not have the actual physical list in front of you, but you have to have it in your mind. Like, what are the things that you are looking for in a man, and what are the things that you will not accept? If there is majority of things that you will not accept in a man, that you already know that you're not doing it, right? There is, women, in a lot of cases, women are a mystery, because sometimes, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but sometimes apparently if a man, even subpar man, somebody that you would not normally get with, but if this subpar man has a way to capture your mind, I heard that he can have access to woman's body. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong. You can tell me in the comments if it's right or wrong. But this is a whole another dimension to this whole debate, right? I can tell you, logically speaking, what laundry list or how the list work that I think you should have one, or at least it's a good idea to have one, so things that you willing to accept and not willing to accept in potential partner. But 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 if this last thing that I mentioned, the mind capture thing, is indeed the case, if a subpar man can capture your mind and therefore have access to your body, then everything is out the window. Everything is out the window if that's the case. Is it not? We have two distinct things. One is a logical thing. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because on one hand, you have the list. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. Easy peasy. I can choose a man just like this, right? On the other hand, you have a dude. Maybe he's sarcastic. Maybe he's funny. Maybe he just has a way with women. Maybe he's just an excellent talker or bullshitter. But we have this person, on the other hand, who can capture your mind. And before you know it, he has access to your body. Does that happen? If that happens, I don't know. What am I doing? Am I offering like a revolution here? I can't, like, these are the choices. These are the choices. Like, if you're self-aware, I guess, if you're self-aware and you understand how you work, I would like to think that I'm fairly self-aware. I probably am delusional to some extent. I'm probably going to look at myself 10 years from now and maybe say that I did not know anything, or I did not know as much. But I can tell you that in the last year, my mindset changed tremendously because of set of circumstances, right? So then, I mean, can people be a little bit more focused on self-awareness to figure out, like, if I've made some mistakes in the past, is it because of me? Maybe I did not do a good enough job evaluating people, or is it because look, if you don't have to go to the next step with the person who is not up to your standard. You don't have to. Now you have to be real whether or not your standards are actually, reasonable, but that's a different story. Assuming your standards are solid, you decided on them, you think they're reasonable. Like, people who don't meet your standards, right, who below them, This is the threshold. You don't have to ever fall below this threshold. So, Jamie, why I'm saying that? Because it's not like you need, like, in my opinion, it's not like you need to be concerned, by a random people's opinion, especially men who want to date you, who fall below that threshold. There may be more people, but opinions of strangers don't weigh too much, don't hold too much weight, in my opinion. I hope it makes sense. I just went on a rant. Give me a hashtag rant. Kaya, you're leaving? Bye bye. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for hanging out. Let's see. Let's face it, both men and women are held to unreasonable standards in all walks of life, not just sex, body image, wage earning. It's scary. I think that's why you just gotta decide your own path. You gotta walk it proudly and find peaceful, happy place. Sometimes you see, like, people make fun sometimes of hippies. I think hippies is cool, man. They're not phased by anything. I'm not talking about smoking weed. I'm talking about just being relaxed and being happy and just take life as it comes. I'm not suggesting just go and sleep with everybody and just go reckless. No, I'm just saying, like, do what makes you, you, but block the noise a little bit, maybe. Yeah, so sweet. You are so sweet. Thank you. That's amazing. I could never be in politics, D. Never. I can't stop reading these comments. We got to get to the video, but I can't stop reading these comments. My God, the time flies when you're having fun. Russian dancing. Sometimes the best way to overcome shame is to take back your power by doing what you need to do and not worry about anyone's judgment. I think that's exactly what I was just talking about. I think that part of the solution to this is finding this space, finding these beliefs, connecting with these beliefs within yourself, not just saying, oh, I'm going to just try it for the sake of trying it, like a new sort of ice cream, but maybe even like do a little bit of introspection, like figure out, okay, is this something that I really believe in? Is, allowing myself to have casual sex is something that I can be comfortable with first. If you connect with the idea, if you think that, yes, like, I think that will be a good thing for me, then I agree with Becky. I think that you need to take your power back and not worry about anyone's judgment. But you have to make sure that this is indeed what you want, not what YouTube wants, not what your friend wants, not what society wants. What do you want? What do you want? That's why some men are good at spitting game, as they used to say. What is the spitting game? Enlighten me. I feel like I don't know so many things. He knows if he can get inside her head and charm her. Oh, that's what it is. She'll grow attracted to him. I mean, like, man, a lot of men figured it out. A lot of men figured it out. This is such an interesting conversation. I have to watch the rest later tonight. Be safe, be kind, and a little bit naughty. What a great suggestion. We're talking about casual sex here, and Kaya is living and saying, be safe, be kind, and a little bit naughty. That was awesome. What a way to leave the room, to exit the building. Yes. You can have game, but it doesn't automatically give you access to my splash mountain. You got to work for it. What is splash mountain? Your slang is just like, you open up completely new paradigms, things that I've never heard before. I can't imagine a mountain that's splashing. It's probably something only Felicia can say that. We'll love you for it. I'm not concerned about what people say. I am saying that men judge women if they have sex on the first date. I mean, like, I think they do, right? We talked about that a little bit, but like, you can judge them back. Like, if somebody judging you, like, because this is just so hypocritical to me, right? You are, you're doing this dance, for lack of the better word. There's another video on YouTube, maybe I'll show it to you in the future, where bird in the rainforest in South America, somewhere in Brazil, I think, does this like mating dance, right? A male for a female bird just watching from a little, like a tree brush above, and he just does all kinds of different things, like his feathers are flipping, right? He's doing like the moves with his head, with his torso, he's doing all that, right? That's how I feel like that's how men move on the first date in the beginning, right? They doing these moves. They're trying to pay for you. They're trying to be, nice to you. They're trying to like swipe you off your feet. So they're doing all that because they want to have sexual access to you. Then they get sexual access to you, and in your example, it's very relevant. They do that. They have the sexual access to you, and then the next thing they judge you. Like, that sounds hypocritical. You just did all this stuff to get to her. If anything, you should be proud, man. You should be proud. She thought you are worthy. That's my mindset. Like, if woman is willing to go there with me so quickly, I don't think, like, again, I'm going to vet it out. Hopefully I'm not going to be stupid enough to be in a position with women who are just not good women. I don't want to be in that position, right? But assuming I want a woman and she's willing to go there with me, I should be proud. I should give myself a pat on the shoulder. Tap on the shoulder. Good job, Yuri. You did something right. So I was joking, Jamie, by saying maybe you should shame him in return. If he has enough nerve to tell you, to bring you down, to judge you, because judgment is a strong thing. It's not just like, hey, this little thing, whatever. It's judgment. It's like you putting somebody's character on a line. You're going deep with it, right? So if they're going to go that route because you were willing to go with them there sexually, then you can judge them back. I'm all about kindness, love, and respect, but I think in some instances you have to punch back a little bit. Let them know, like, I'm not a punching bag. You're going to talk shit about me, I'm going to talk shit about you. What's wrong with you? Prototype halftime Russian dance. Indeed. So women are judged no matter what they do. No matter what, then the guys tell their friends, and then it filters back to other people. I don't personally care what people say about me, but it's really harsh, especially on younger women. Absolutely, it's harsh. Absolutely, it's harsh. Um, but I just have a feeling that it's also about the quality of man. It's also about quality of man. I think that, like, I think that you should not be, you know, I don't think you should be doing that with a guy who is not worthy up to your standards. I think it's a bad idea. If there are signs that you see from the beginning that he's like, I don't know about him, don't even go there. Splash Mountain. Okay, got it. Got it. Why is it a mountain? Why is this a mountain? Oh, this is so funny. Felicia said, I'm a queen of aphorisms. Yes, indeed. Okay, the comments come to an end. That means that we need to watch now a video. This was awesome. I felt like this was amazing. As always. I think yesterday got a little choppy, right? I'm like have to watch myself not to offend anyone with all these opinions of mine. All right, continue on, my friends.
Who you are and how you do it.
Let's rewind just a little bit.
Indeed, have the potential to harm or benefit well-being. And some people are more susceptible to that potential. So whether casual sex is good for you or not depends on who you are and how you do it.
Fair use.
There are many factors that this relationship can depend on, and I couldn't possibly cover all of them in one 18-minute talk. But one critical one is authenticity. Doing only the kinds of things that are fully in line with who you are, your beliefs, your values, your desires, your needs. You know, casual sex is not for everyone. Nothing sexual ever is, really. Due to differences in nature, nurture, and life circumstances, some of us have a much stronger general need for sexual novelty and much greater comfort having sex with people we don't know very well. So figure out where you are on this spectrum. You know, is hooking up with people you're not dating something that sounds enjoyable, exciting, an important experience to have?
This is exactly what I was just talking about, is it not? Look, I did not even know she was going to say it. I've. This is surreal because I believe it. I think you should be connecting with the idea. If you're not connecting with the idea, if that's not you, don't even bother. That's exactly what she just said. That's surreal. It's like we're on the same frequency, you know? Wow.
Morally acceptable to you? Would you be hooking up with this person even if you're never going to see them afterwards? If the answer to most of these is no, you shouldn't really be doing it.
Don't do it if it's a no.
There's a bit of an elephant in the room when we talk about pleasure in heterosexual casual sex. The orgasm gap between men and women. In a study of over 20,000 undergrads, 80% of men had an orgasm during their most recent hookup. This was true of only 40% of women. Now, there's an orgasm gap in romantic encounters too, but it's twice as large in hookups. This doesn't mean that women aren't enjoying it necessarily. In this same study, 90% of the women said they enjoyed their hookup very much, or at least somewhat. Most of them enjoyed it very much, about 70+%.
Hold on a second. So, one question: if indeed, I mean, it's going to be kind of a humorous remark, I think, but I think it's worth mentioning. If indeed anyone who's watching this video will consider casual um, interaction, relation, engagement. Maybe one question that could be asked, you can bring this data on a date. You can reference this video and you can say, young man, this is the data. 80% of men end up with orgasm based on 20,000 undergraduate students. Maybe we're not an undergrad, but we have a sample here. 80% of them, of these men, end up having an orgasm. And only 40% of female end up with orgasm. We have an orgasm gap. What are you going to do to ensure that it doesn't happen? Don't laugh. Wait and see what the man will say. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. If this is important, that's need to be asked. It needs to be asked not just for the fact whether or not man has a solution for you sexually. It needs to be asked to see how men respond to that. I think that is because, sometimes women will test a man. I think this is, and they will do it kind of like on the down low. Sometimes men don't like it, but I think this is a reasonable question. This could be your test. If you want to go there, this is, this is reasonable. See his reaction. Is he uptight? Is he relaxed about whole situation? If a woman asks me that, if a woman that's sexually free, that tells me like she has a sense of humor, for one thing. She's relaxed, and she put me on the spot. Interesting. Is she thinking about it? Is she just really want to know if I'm going to be a suitable mate for her? That's going to make me wonder, But it's a relevant question. How many of you would dare? That's the word. How many of you would dare to ask that question on a date? If you would dare to ask that question on a date, on the first date to a man, put a hashtag, I dare. This is too much fun. This is too much fun. Too much fun. Too much fun. If you are that person, put I dare. Hashtag I dare.
But we can all do better. I mean, this gap needs closing. Women need to learn to be more.
The question that I ask is, if you are willing to ask a man on the first date, show him the statistic, 80% of men have an orgasm versus 40% of women have an orgasm. What are you going to do about this discrepancy or about this gap, orgasm gap, young man? Or better yet, you can frame it, should we get intimate on one of those nights? What are you going to ensure that probability of my orgasm will be closer to 100 than 40? What are you going to do about this? I see some dares. If you dare, put a hashtag I dare. If you dare to ask that question.
Selfish, demand their sexual pleasure. And men need to learn to be more giving. Try harder to please their partners, even in the briefest of one-night stands. Casual sex doesn't have to be devoid of all the intimacy and passion. It's not like you're doing your laundry or picking up your mail. Try to give and get as much sexual pleasure out of every hookup. That's the whole point.
All right, I want to say one more thing. I love the comments. Keep in mind, I love this. I love that we have people who are willing and who think that that would be like you could do it, right? So I love this. I love this because you're free, meaning like you're not afraid. Some freaks. I will say one thing about this. I think that you will know what kind of man you're dealing with. At least, maybe not entirely, but to an extent. It's not just about the question. It's a very strong question. It is a very strong, straightforward, you know, it's like a spear, like boom, here we go, right? So it's a very direct question, but it also will, I think it will help you to kind of see what kind of man are you dealing with. Because truth be told, I think with this question, there's going to be, you can throw a lot of men off guard with this question. I think it would take somebody who is very confident in their own shoes, comfortable with themselves, to just be still relaxed and kind of joke about it. And it would take, I would say, like, I think you can kind of gauge certain reactions. If you see that like man is not really comfortable, man is embarrassed, maybe he has lack of experience, maybe he's really an introverted man, maybe he's just never been asked that question before, um, maybe he's not creative to answer that question. It could be a couple different things. Let's continue to watch that, shall we?
Now, one major factor that keeps people from engaging in casual sex to begin with is the social stigma attached to it. This dreaded reputation is unfortunately much more constraining of women's behavior than it is of men's. But here's an interesting thing.
Fair use.
People do indeed say they don't want to be friends or spouses with promiscuous others. But more promiscuous college students of both sexes actually report having more friends and feeling less lonely than their less promiscuous peers. So, if casual sex is going to be a part of your life, yes, there will be people who will judge you. But you can surround yourself with people who won't. Now, an unfortunate reality of hookups, especially college hookups, is how often they're driven by alcohol. When researchers asked freshman women to track all their sexual encounters over one academic year, this is what they found. The less known the partner was, the more likely alcohol was involved. You can't see it, unfortunately, at the end over there, but when it was a stranger, 90% of all hookups involved drinking. 63% involved heavy drinking, 4 or more drinks. They're going to look at this and be like, yeah, so what? But it's not so what. This is really unfortunate because judgment impaired due to alcohol or drugs is the number one reason for unwanted hookups. Hookups you regret the next day. Now,
89% of unwanted of hookups based on alcohol consumption. That is a lot. Personally, I don't think that it's a good idea to mix alcohol in this equation because that's where a lot of problems can happen, I think. I would ask the question if I need it, but I've never had to. The problem, I think some men don't understand basic anatomy. They assume they know what pleases us. They don't know the difference between private parts. I get it. It's true. I mean, I can see it being the case. a woman's body is, compared to men's body, I would say definitely more complex, um, because the way that different women will have different orgasms. Um, man is not as diverse in that area. It is more streamlined for us. So yeah, it's on man to learn that for sure, but it's also kind of a double-edged sword, because majority of men don't have much sexual access. We talked about that. The 10 to 15 men get 90% of women. So you're talking about 85% of men, 90% of men who who really just, you know, they don't have real people to practice with. Yes, they can look up videos and stuff, but they're lacking real life experience. Something to consider. Sounds like they're more likely to be extroverts based on what she's saying about their popularity. Hmm. But interestingly enough, they get more friends. That's surprising. The alcohol contribution to sex with a stranger up to 89. I mean, can consent when too drunk. No, it's a bad idea. It is a bad idea not be able in your own mind and not fully understand what's going on. I think alcohol is just, there's no place for it. I know obviously it's going to happen when you talk about young people. I mean, undergrad especially is just a hookup place, but when you get a little bit older and wiser, I think you can be a lot more aware of it. All right, let's come back to the video.
A couple of drinks to set the mood or for liquid courage is one thing. But getting smashed, that makes you do things you didn't want to do with people you didn't want to do them with. It diminishes your physiological ability to enjoy sex or perform sexually.
Mm-hmm.
It inhibits your psychological ability to set boundaries and express desires. It weakens your determination to use condoms. It makes you more sexually aggressive or more vulnerable to sexual aggression. And it also just blurs your memories. And I mean, don't you want to remember it? Right? If you need to be drunk to be hooking up, you should not be hooking up at all.
That's a good suggestion. Fair use.
Sexual desire and romantic love are two distinct psychological and physiological systems that evolved for two different evolutionary purposes: making babies versus staying together long enough for those babies to survive. But the two systems are not independent. Sex can set in motion a cascade of neurochemical processes in the brain that lead to love. Neurotransmitters released during sex, oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine, they make you bond to your partner, even if you didn't want that to happen. And the more you have sex with that person, the stronger that bond grows. Then, when those bonds get broken, as they often do in casual relationships, it hurts. Now, some people are luckier. Their brains are wired in a way that they don't get attached very easily. But you can also fight this involuntary infatuation with reason. Not every person who gives you great orgasms and treats you well afterwards would make a great long-term partner. Go down your relationship checklist.
Hey!
All those red flags.
Hey!
Then resist the urge to text them 20 times a day. Or start naming your kids and planning your life together as soon as they leave your house. Keep yourself busy. Have a rotation of partners, perhaps.
Whoa.
Works really well. Finally, casual sex is not just for single people.
Fair use.
Remember that novelty and adventure thing I talked about in the beginning? Well, many people in long-term relationships also crave novelty. sometimes much more so than single people. Some try to suppress those needs and hope they go away. Others cheat and hope their partners don't find out. But an increasing number of people, about 4 to 5% at our current best estimate, are starting to incorporate casual sex into their long-term, loving, committed relationships in an open and honest way, in a consensually non-monogamous way. If this is something that might interest you, there is a growing movement of ethical or responsible non-monogamy out there that you might want to explore, starting with this awesome book called The Ethical Slut. All said and done, there's nothing inherently wrong or inherently unhealthy about wanting casual sex or having it often. Now, casual sex can be a source of mental and physical suffering, but it can also be an amazing experience that enriches your life and brings great happiness. Now, unlike with romantic encounters, with hookups, you are taking a risk. And sometimes you get rewarded, and sometimes you don't. There's no way you can control all the factors, but there is a lot you can do to maximize your chances of getting rewarded. Take responsibility for your experience. Communicate clearly your likes, dislikes, limitations, expectations. Give an enthusiastic yes to the things you want and a firm no to the things you don't want. This kind of sexual assertiveness is important no matter the partner type, but it's absolutely paramount with casual partners because they're definitely not psychic. They probably don't know you well or at all, and sometimes they don't care much about your safety or pleasure. So you need to help your partners treat you the way you want to be treated. And whatever you do, please use condoms and do not get wasted. Of course, mistakes happen. Learn from them and move on. Remember the old saying, practice makes perfect. Studies actually show that the older you get and the more you do it, the better skilled you become at navigating all these challenges of casual sex. So it gets better, and not just for the gay kids. Thank you.
Fair use. This was interesting. This was very interesting. I think she did a good job because she really brought to light quite a few different ideas, like big ideas that we already discussed. But let's see. Let's see. Where did we stop? I'm trying to find the last comment. I think we were here. The alcohol contributing to sex with a stranger up to 89%. Can't consent when too drunk. We looked at that one. I think the majority of casual sex isn't with strangers. It's probably mostly friends with benefits or people who are dating but don't want a commitment. Yeah, I think a lot of it. She was showing the statistic. Let's actually look at that real quick. She had that on the screen. I think the friends were based on this data point. Check this out. Based on this data point, ex-boyfriend 30%, friend 52%. That's a lot. That's a lot for friends. Acquaintances 76%. So like know somebody from work or maybe from apartment complex. Like, hey, you want to stop by to eat some cookies together tonight? But strangers, that's what's shocking me. That is, I would not expect that. Now, keep in mind that this is 2014 Journal of Sex Research, or whatever this word is. I think it's meant to be research. And apparently was based on undergraduate students. I believe she mentioned 20,000 of undergraduate students. So you have to take that with a grain of salt because they're a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? they are reckless in college. They just want to play Smash Mario Bros and drink. But nonetheless, friends and acquaintances, it's a big numbers, big numbers. So it's a convenient factor. It's like, oh, I know that person. Why not, right? Let's try it out. Most men too most men be too cocky. They think they will just kill the cat. It's not about that. Then women be lying there looking crazy. Why would we want to kill the cat? There's another expression. What does kill the cat? If they try, at least means they yes, but if they try, it at least means they put in some effort, and maybe they will be better with their next partner. So consider it community development. Hey, that's a thought. Practice makes perfect, right? What she's saying is why friends with benefits doesn't work over a long term. For those who don't intend on becoming a relationship. Entanglement. Isn't that word that Will Smith's wife used in that interview when they were sitting at the table together? Entanglement. Just cold as it is, you bang a dude. Why you say entanglement? Try to be nice and stuff. Looking forward to my older man spouse. Guys, all this. What is bust the cherry? What is the next thing will be? Eat the watermelon? Bust the cherry. Does it mean eat the watermelon? Oh my God, we're just speaking riddles now. That's so crazy. All right, my friends, what is this closing remarks here? By the way, I'm gonna go live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I want to connect with folks in other area codes, other countries that are currently sleeping. Definitely hope that all of you will be able to join tomorrow as well. Before we depart, let's vote. Let's what kind of things you want to talk about tomorrow? Put down a comment. What would you like to hear tomorrow? What kind of conversation you want to have? Please comment. Is it something that you heard tonight that perhaps spark your interest that we can dive into tomorrow? Is there something that's been on your mind beforehand that you would like to uncover or discuss? Or is it something completely new that you just thought of that would be cool to talk about? Give me a suggestion below what kind of topic you would like to hear to be discussed tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, only on Russian Prototype YouTube channel. The Prototype family. Let's see those suggestions in the comments. How do I sum it up? Heather said, summary, casual sex is good if that's what you want and can handle it, and vice versa. I think this is a very good summary, Heather. I really do. Few notes that I took as she was talking. She was talking about the difference between making babies and raising family, engaging in sexual activity for those two distinct reasons. She mentioned that even though they seem to be so different as two activities, she said that people still bond during sex, whether it is casual sex or it is typical committed sex. People still bond with one or the other. That wasn't interesting. She mentioned that novelty needed even in committed relationships, even in marriages. So some people will suppress, some people will cheat, but some people will actually open up a relationship and they will allow their partner and themselves potentially to be in open relationships. I thought that was interesting. Um, she reiterated how important it is to be self aware and to know what you want, what you will stand for, what you will not stand for, when to say yes, when to say no. It goes without a saying, you would never put yourself in a dangerous situation. It it comes down to an intelligent situation, for yourself, something that you can accept for yourself. Um, and of course, she talked about safety in using condoms and don't engage in casual sex when you waste it. What it comes down to, it is comes down to individual decision of each person, considering all these factors. I don't even know if we can talk about right or wrong. I think it really comes down to, what do you truly want? Can you justify it for yourself? Can you be safe? And can you, you know, um, have a partner that you happy with, that you satisfied with, and off you go. Off you go. Let's say it's a daytime show. Yeah. Looks like no suggestion. So I guess I'll just come up with something. Come up with something tomorrow. Maybe it's going to be something completely unrelated. Um, Maybe I have to just dig through my notes and see what sparks an interest. Cheyenne has some suggestions. Let's see. Some topics: online dating. We did a long distance relationships before, but online dating slightly different. How to find a guy in person. Dating an older guy. Mental health in dating. Oh, some good ones. Dating a coworker. We can talk about cakes all day, every day. Look, I like this, Cheyenne. Thank you so much. I think there's some interesting ones. Um, Dating a coworker, online dating. Well, looks like a couple of you want to talk about online dating. So let's talk about online dating tomorrow. We talked about long distance before. This time we're going to talk about online dating. I love it. Online dating. I'll have some points, definitely, because this is a juicy one. Now, I'll give you heads up. Fair warning that tomorrow, tomorrow's show, the day show, it will be around between hour to hour and a half. Hour and a half, it would be probably the ceiling that I will be able to do tomorrow. So just FYI. So hold me accountable, please. If you see me going over 1:30, you got to start reminding me. You have an obligation at 2 p.m. So you have to keep me accountable, okay? Just in case I cannot save myself from amazing comments and fun time together. Thank you so much for your suggestions. Cake is cake is coming. You'll have to have a cheat day next week. Cake is coming indeed. Felicia, I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready. So many old guys on those sites. Yes, there's so much that we can talk about in online dating. Oh my God. I'm glad that you all are interested in this. So thank you for the suggestion, Cheyenne. All right, let's go ahead and say thank you to all of you for joining. Felicia, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for fun comments for Mountain Splash, I believe it was. Cheyenne, thank you so much for your suggestions for tomorrow's show. Appreciate that. Heather, thank you so much for joining tonight, sharing your thoughts, and always coming up with great engagement. Appreciate you. Dee, thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting and for sharing your thoughts. It was awesome. Becky, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being so open about your opinions, about your beliefs. Appreciate you. Jamie, did I already mention you? I don't think I did. I did. Did I? I can't remember. I think I didn't. So thank you, Jamie, for being here. Also for sharing your thoughts, for having this honest conversation. I know sometimes it's not easy. So I really, really, really appreciate that. Strong Ballerina, thank you for translating these complicated American slang expressions. Thank you for hanging out and for contributing to the conversation. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll be seeing you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to talk about online dating. Bring questions, bring comments. Let's have a great talk tomorrow. I'm excited. It's going to be good. It's going to be daytime. Hopefully, we have folks from other area codes join us. Share it out. Give me a favor. Share this with someone. Share it on your social media. I'm going to go ahead and post. Make the thing right now to go on my YouTube channel, and I'll post it on Instagram too to do a preview for tomorrow's live stream. Share it out on your social media. Invite people into this conversation. Let's get more people into this. Let's get more people thinking about those things. I appreciate you, prototypes. It's a wonderful community. Thank you to every single one of you. The prototypes, I love it. Hashtag prototypes. So grateful for this content and wonderful community, and open communication is so beautiful and amazing. Thank you so much, Dee. I appreciate you back. It's truly amazing to be able to have these conversations and to connect with every single one of you. My friends, with that being said, let's try to share it so we can get more people into conversation tomorrow. This is a big, big topic because online dating does not get much bigger than that. Have a great night. I will see you tomorrow, Saturday, August 21st, 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on this channel. Until then, good night.